Nation just days away from being unable to pay its bills, the debt ceiling saga is shifting to the Senate. The House passed a bill last night that would prevent a potential default. Let's bring in our Washington correspondent, Joe St. George. He's live from the Capitol, as always. Joe, the Senate's going to have to move pretty quickly on this. The deadline's Monday, according to the Treasury Secretary anyway. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is warning that there's no margin for error here. So how do you think a Senate vote's going to go?
Well, James, good morning. I can tell you this. No one is hanging the crisis averted banner just yet here in Washington, but the temperature of this entire debate has been brought down dramatically. It's barely really simmering at this point in time. And that's because if you were to talk to anyone going into this debt limit drama, whether it was last January or last week, they would tell you here in Washington, getting the legislation through the House of Representatives was always going to be the biggest hurdle. And last night, this debt limit deal brokered between Speaker McCarthy and President Biden got through the House of Representatives, and by an overwhelming margin. Over 300 members of the House voted for this legislation. So now it's on to the Senate. The Senate would like to vote on some amendments, and that's an important part of this debate to watch. You have some senators who are frustrated with what's in this thing. Democratic Senator Tim Kaine, for instance, of Virginia, is frustrated that this helps greenlight a pipeline project in West Virginia. He wants an amendment to take that out. If the Senate changes this bill in any way, James, the legislation has to get kicked back to the House of Representatives. But leadership is working. They've talked already. They're continuing to discuss ways in which they can maybe allow an amendment vote, but none of those amendments pass because they don't want to send this legislation back to the House with such little time left before June 5th. So all eyes will be on the Senate, James. I know what you're going to ask me. You're going to ask me about, okay, when's this going to pass? What's our timing here? Senator Chuck Schumer is going to go to the floor today, setting up a Saturday vote. But if the Senate has agreement amongst Republicans and Democrats, the Senate could really speed this process up. We could have a final vote either late today or late tomorrow.
And that would be a best case scenario for sure, Joe. This is something that's consumed the news cycle over the past several weeks, but it could be the last fight over the debt ceiling we see for a while. The president suggested using the 14th Amendment here. How exactly would that work?
Well, the 14th Amendment, I know it's early to have a civics class, but the 14th Amendment essentially says that the public debt of the United States should not be questioned. And there are some scholars who say this entire debt limit drama, debate, whatever you want to call it, questions the public debt of the United States. So the president has hinted in conversations with some reporters in recent weeks that at a later date after this debt deal has been signed into law, that he may invalidate the debt limit. And that would prompt a legal challenge, ultimately culminating most likely in a Supreme Court opinion. So yes, there's a slim possibility this is the last time you and I, James, are talking about the debt limit. One thing is for sure, if this debt limit does clear Congress in the coming days, coming hours, we won't be talking about it for quite some time. This deal allows the Treasury Department to keep paying its bills until January of 2025.
But Joe, it's been so much fun talking to you about it, though. I just don't know if I can wait
love
that
it.
long.
I'm going to miss it.
He's Joe St. George live this morning in our nation's capital. Thanks so much, Joe.